America, the land of opportunity, the melting pot of cultures. People from all walks of life come to chase the American dream. The American workforce is like a giant potluck, documented, undocumented, gig workers. It's a mixed bag. This mix makes the economy tick. Who's really doing the work in this country? How do we ensure everyone gets a fair shake? They build houses, serve food, pick produce, and take care of kids. Documented or not, these people keep the wheels turning. A strong economy depends on recognizing every worker's value. All right, folks, let's talk taxes. Nobody likes them, but they pay for the roads we drive on, the schools our kids go to, even those reality TV shows we secretly love to hate watch. Now, here's a fun fact. Undocumented workers in the United States paid an estimated $12 billion in state and local taxes in 2020 alone. That's billion with a B. And guess what? That number keeps growing. You see, undocumented workers, they're like that friend who always picks up the tab even though they didn't order anything. They're paying into a system they might not even benefit from directly. They use fake social security numbers or ITINs to file taxes, contributing to Social Security and Medicare, programs they might never get to use. Meanwhile, documented workers, they're paying their fair share too. In 2020, they contributed trillions, yes, trillions with a T, in federal, state and local taxes. That's a whole lot of dough going towards keeping this country running. But here's the thing, both groups, documented and undocumented, are essential to the economy. They're like two sides of the same coin. You can't have one without the other. Now, let's talk about jobs, those things we need to, afford life in this fine country. In 2020, there were an estimated 7.6 million undocumented workers in the US labor force. That's more than the entire population of some states.
They're working in industries like agriculture, construction, hospitality, jobs that many Americans wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. Think about it. Who's picking your strawberries? Who's building those skyscrapers? Who's cleaning hotel rooms at 3 a.m.? It's often undocumented workers, folks. They're the backbone of these industries, keeping them afloat, and by extension, keeping the American economy humming along.
But these workers often face exploitation and abuse. They're paid less than minimum wage, denied overtime, and threatened with deportation if they speak up. It's a raw deal, no doubt about it. Documented workers, on the other hand, have it a bit easier, at least on paper. They've got legal protections, access to benefits, and the right to organize. But even they are facing challenges, wage stagnation, job insecurity, and rising healthcare costs. The point is, both groups are vital to the US economy, and both deserve a fair shake. Then came 2020, and bam! The COVID-19 pandemic hit the world like a ton of bricks. The economy went into a tailspin, and millions lost their jobs. Remember those essential workers everyone was suddenly thanking? Turns out a lot of them were undocumented immigrants. They were the ones risking their health to keep grocery stores open, to deliver packages, to care for the sick.
But here's the kicker: undocumented workers, they didn't get stimulus checks. They couldn't access unemployment benefits. They were left out in the cold, even though they were keeping the country running. Talk about irony, right?
Documented workers, they got hit hard too, but at least they had a safety net, however flimsy it might have been. They could access some government assistance, even if it wasn't nearly enough. The pandemic exposed the cracks in our system, highlighting the vulnerabilities of both documented and undocumented workers. It showed us just how interconnected we all are and how essential every worker is to our collective well-being. Section 5. The taxman cometh contributions and benefits for documented versus undocumented workers. Let's talk about taxes again, shall we? Specifically, what undocumented workers pay in versus what they get back.
As we've established, these folks are paying billions in taxes, but they're not eligible for most government benefits, like Social Security or Medicare, even though they contribute to these programs. It's like going to a potluck and bringing the most delicious dish only to be told you can't eat anything. Not cool, right?
Documented workers, on the other hand, have access to these benefits. They can receive Social Security checks when they retire, get Medicare coverage when they're older, and qualify for unemployment if they lose their jobs. It's the deal they signed up for when they started paying taxes.
Now, I'm not saying documented workers don't deserve these benefits. They absolutely do. They've worked hard and paid into the system, but it's worth asking, why are undocumented workers who also contribute to the economy excluded from these safety nets? Is it fair? Is it just? Is it even economically sensible?
These are the questions we need to be asking if we want to create a more equitable and prosperous society for all. Section 6. A Tale of Two Systems. Navigating healthcare as a documented or undocumented worker. Let's be honest, healthcare in America is a bit of a circus. It's expensive, it's complicated, and it often feels like the joke is on us.
Now, imagine navigating this system as an undocumented worker. You're paying taxes, but you're not eligible for Medicare or Medicaid. You're often afraid to seek medical care because you might get reported to ICE. Talk about a lose-lose situation.
Documented workers, they've got their own set of healthcare headaches. They might have employer-sponsored insurance, but the premiums are sky high and the deductibles are even higher. They might qualify for subsidies on the Affordable Care Act exchanges, but even then, healthcare can be a significant financial burden.
The point is, the healthcare system is a mess for everyone, but it's especially difficult for undocumented workers. They're often forced to choose between their health and their safety, and that's a choice no one should have to make.
Section 7. Living in the Shadows. The challenges faced by undocumented workers. Let's be real. Being undocumented in America is tough. It's like living in the shadows, always looking over your shoulder, never knowing when you might get caught.
You're constantly worried about being separated from your family, deported to a country you barely remember, and you're often exploited and abused because you don't have the same rights as documented workers. You can't just walk into a government building and demand your rights. You can't even call the cops if you're a victim of a crime because you're afraid they might ask about your immigration status.
It's a constant state of fear and uncertainty, and yet despite all of this, undocumented workers continue to contribute to the US economy. They work hard, they pay taxes, and they raise families. They're a vital part of the American fabric, even if some people refuse to see it. Section 8. The Future of Work. A look at the economic implications of documented and undocumented labor. So, what does the future hold for the American workforce? Automation is changing the game, with robots and algorithms taking over jobs. The gig economy is rising with more freelancers and independent contractors. The workforce demographics are shifting with more women, people of color, and immigrants. Both documented and undocumented workers will face new challenges and opportunities.
The key to a thriving economy is a system that works for everyone. Ensuring fair wages, safe conditions, and access to education is crucial. We need a pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants contributing to society.
Section 9. A shared burden, a shared prosperity, recognizing the contributions of all workers. Look, the American economy isn't a zero-sum game. When undocumented workers succeed, it doesn't mean documented workers lose out.
In fact, studies have shown that when undocumented workers have a pathway to citizenship and are able to earn higher wages, it benefits the economy as a whole. They pay more in taxes, they spend more money in their communities, and they create more jobs. It's time we stop seeing undocumented workers as a threat and start recognizing them for what they are, essential contributors to our economy and our society. They're our neighbors, our colleagues, our friends. They're part of what makes America great.
Section 10. Towards a more equitable future, reforming immigration policies for a stronger economy. Now, I'm not a politician, I'm just a comedian who likes to talk about serious stuff sometimes, but it seems to me that reforming our immigration system is not just a moral imperative, it's an economic necessity. We need to create a system that is fair, humane, and works for everyone.
That means securing our borders, yes, but it also means creating a pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants who are already here. It means streamlining the legal immigration process so that people who want to come here to work and contribute can do so without having to jump through hoops of fire. And it means holding employers accountable for hiring undocumented workers and then exploiting them.
Section 11. Conclusion. The real workers of America. The American workforce is a tapestry woven from the threads of countless cultures, backgrounds, and experiences. Documented and undocumented workers, they all play a role in this grand narrative. They sweat, they strive, they build, they serve, they care. They are the backbone of this nation, the engine of its economy and the embodiment of its spirit. It's time we recognized and honored the contributions of all workers, regardless of their immigration status, because at the end of the day, the real workers of America are the ones who get the job done day in and day out, documented or not. And that's a fact worth celebrating.